Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Dech Teck. I am Dell, and today I'm talking about a pretty big deck, one of my favorites. This deck started when I was challenging myself to build outside my comfort colors. Usually I build black or black-green decks, and I chose green-white mainly because I pulled a really cool etched foil. But also I wanted to do a secondary challenge to this deck too, where don't use any artifacts, artifact creatures, anything that makes artifacts, and kind of focus on an all natural, good time, funky solution to playing the game. The deck's actual name is on my tape here: 100% Natural Good-Time Selesnya Solution. All rest development joke there, if you get it. But the commander pulled really cool foil etched of Karametra, decided to use it. Actually was able to get some of the artists, as you can see, so it'd be kind of hard to read it, but you get the idea. It's 3 in the green and the white. A legendary enchantment creature, subtype god, has indestructible, and as long as my devotion to green and white is less than 7, it isn't a creature. And when I cast a creature spell, I may search my library for a forced plains card, put in the battlefield tapped, and shuffle my library. So, like I said, the sub-theme of this is no artifacts, but the main theme is getting a bunch of stuff out, mana ramping, and casting something big. I'll talk about the big combo at the end of the video, but I wanted to focus on more what I put in it, show you guys my idea for this deck, give you an idea if you want to build your own. But the main theme is getting a bunch of stuff out, pumping them up as big as I can, swinging out, trying to cause some damage, and we'll talk about the combo and everything else later in the video. But organize some stuff in the stacks. I don't ever come with a script. You can tell by how many times I say or just kind of ramble. What I do beforehand is kind of separate my cards into piles for, like, not so much theming, but just talking points. Like the first pile here is mostly pumping creature spells. There is other sub theme with all permanents, which you'll see at the end. But kind of challenging, finding cards in every new set. I find some neat stuff I want to add, and most time the set goes by where nothing new gets added to it. There is, at the time of recording this, a new set with a green-white cat I kind of want to add to this deck. And the Doctor Who set has a card I kind of thinking about putting in here too. But we'll do that for an update video down the line if I ever do overhaul the deck a bit. But other than that, it's probably just foiling some stuff out, getting some autographs and whatnot. But anyway, rambling on. First card we're going to talk about is Chalet, Voice of Plenty. Not really much of an introduction, but it is going to be able to pump my creatures up. 4 and 2 green, put +1/+1 on each creature I control. And it also gives me planeswalkers I control, other creatures I control, hexproof. Gets pretty useful. People start playing burn spells or removal. You got to remove Chalet first. Next is Trestania Discordant. Again, pumping my creatures, making some tokens. There are a lot of token generating cards in this set, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but not really the strong theme move. But if you're playing enough green white, you're going to be making some tokens here and there. But I don't have too much population or too much token shenanigans, we'll call it, but you will see a decent amount of them. And begin my ends to each player against control creatures I control. I have played a game or two where that has come into play, people stealing stuff. Not very nice, stealing their opponent's stuff, but it happens. Wilt Leaf Liege, again pumping green and white, and if they're both, they get both pumps. And I have seen, at least when I played Modern, the last ability go off, where if somebody would make me discard this, actually goes on the battlefield. Kong Ming, Sleeping Dragon, other creatures get pumped up. Not much to say there. King Darien, the Roman numeral. I know VIII is 8. X is 1,000? L, I don't remember. Of some lineage, we'll call it. Again, pumping creatures. Put a +1/+1 counter on him, making a token, and he can give my other tokens hexproof and indestructible within a turn. Don't see it too much. I have had a few board wipes, or at least get to save a couple creatures from it. Got some work done, mostly in there for the pumping ability. Another one of my favorites, Hero Bladehold, has Battle Crest. When it attacks, it pumps my creatures, and also pumps out a few tokens while we're at it. Next we got Maja, Guard Protector. Again, pumping my creatures. And has a little token generation when landing as a battlefield. Once I get Karametra out, this is out too. I get some dirty stuff happening. Angel of Jubilation. Other non-black creatures get pumped. And then players can't pay life or sacrifice creatures that cast spells or activate abilities. I don't really do much in my deck to do this, so it's just nice to have that pump ability, but also shutting some other stuff down. Another one of my favorites here, Mirror Entity. Changeling, and pay X to undeterred creatures I control. Base power XX until end of turn and gain all creature types. I have been able to pump up to win the game, but I've also prevented people from stealing my stuff where I just pump for 0, wipe my own board, they can't take any of my stuff. Has done the trick a few times. Benevolent Marshal, again pumping my creatures, not too much to say there. We got Mommy, Elish Norn, pumping my creatures and shrinking my opponent's creatures. Good board wipe on 1/1s and 2/2s. Mostly there just to make my stuff bigger. Then we got the big boys. The Gruesome Twosome, Braider Behemoth, and Moonshaker Cavalry. Again, pumping everything up for how many creatures you control. Give them flying, give them trample. Get in there doing some damage. I have a nice full art for this. I was thinking about switching this out for the Secret Lair. I do like the original art, but the Secret Lair was really cute. It's the little kid drawing one. So I might switch out at some point. That might be the next update coming up. But they're basically there to end the game. I don't play too aggressive, but this is one of those decks where I do plan on ending the game. So up next is the rest of the creatures. Have a few mana dorks on top. You got Birds of Paradise. Don't think it needs an introduction. You got Sylvan Caryatid and a Paradise Druid. Both have mana abilities, but Hexproof is untapped. Just Hexproof in general. Sabala, I kind of grouped in with the mana dorks because get back up here. Does have a mana ability. Sometimes I get some mana, sometimes I don't. It's all the luck, and I don't have too much luck. A little early, but we saw him again. Dech Teck. Like I said, with the all-natural experience, non-creature spells cost X. Or non-creature spells current mana cost 4 or greater can't be played. And non-creature spells extra mana cannot be played. He does some good work. Shanna Sisay's Legacy. Can't be a target. His abilities your opponent's control. So spells can be, but abilities not. And gets +1/+1 for each creature I control. Not much to say there. Kasali Pride Mage. Exalted and destroy an artifact or enchantment. If you're not sure what this does, it's pretty good in most decks, but the Exalted is pretty fun too if I attack with one creature. Does not happen too much in this deck. I'm usually swinging out, but we got Collector Leaf. Activated abilities, artifacts can't be activated. Also fun for the all-natural experience, but this is probably the saltiest card in here besides the combo. And I've had a lot of grief about that. Heard a lot of grief, but what can you do? Arrest of the Endless Web. Whenever anyone opponent casts an instant or sorcery, make a spider with reach. Again, a little bit of token generation. That's a card I might get cut eventually, but it's done enough work where I keep it in there. Masako the Humorless. You can play it at flash, instant speed, and tap creatures may block, as though they were untapped. This is a fun card if somebody tries to swing out when I have a bunch of tap stuff. I can still block them. Soul Warden. Soul Sisters are in this deck. It's one of my favorite modern format cards. Got it signed recently by the artist, Rani Gallegos. When a creature enters the battlefield, gain a life. I should put those together because I have the other Soul Sisters in here as well, but we'll see them eventually. Yasharn Implacable, or I'm not sure how to pronounce that. When it enters the battlefield, search for a basic force, basic planes. Both, reveal them and put them in your hand. And players can't pay a life or sacrifice non-land permanents to cast spells or activate abilities. Also helps with that all-natural experience, preventing people from doing some shenanigans. Not a sister, but in the same game where another creature control enters the battlefield or dies, gain a life. And he has toughness equal to devotion to white. Had a hard time deciding which pile to put this in, but I ended up putting it the creature because technically it is a creature. Dryad Arbor, the cool from the vault art that everyone hates, but I like it. I guess considered a mana dork is technically a land, but also a forest, I think you can search this out for the forest ability with Karametra. At least I've done it enough times that no one said anything. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. Champion of Lambholt. Creatures with power less than the Champion of Lambholt's power can't block. Creatures I control. And when a creature enters the battlefield under my control, put a +1/+1 on it. This is a good card. If you're playing green and you're playing any form of combat, this is a really good card to have. I do not like seeing it across the field when my opponents play it, but I do really enjoy that. When an opponent casts a spell during your turn or when this creature dies, put a green and white elemental creature token on the battlefield equal to the number of creatures I control. I love this card. When I finally dropped in price, became super cheap, I bought a couple. It was real big when it was in standard, but it doesn't see too much play anymore. We got Scavenging Ooze, aka Scoos. It's just good graveyard removal and interaction with graveyards. Had to include it. Another one of my favorite Soul Sisters, Aria Champion. Protection from black and red, and when our creature comes in play, gain a life. We got the Kitty King, Bremaz, making some creature tokens. Always fun to see. Another part of my modern deck that I really like. I really like that art too. We got Riss the Redeemed, or Reese. Again, token generation and population effects. Doesn't see too much play in this deck. I never really get it out too often, but it's a nice 1-mana creature to get some lands when I have Karametra out. Another of my favorites, God Eternal Oketra. When I cast a creature spell, I make a 4/4 zombie. And then, of course, it doesn't have this indestructible. When it dies, I get to put it in my library. Third from the top. This does some pretty good work. I put this in a lot of decks now. Beast Whisperer, another card that I like, but might end up getting cut for something better eventually. When I cast a creature spell, I draw a card. I never see it when I need it. It's one of those cards that, for my own play, I don't see it when I need it and wind up cutting it eventually. We got Dryad Militant, again, kind of shutting down instant sorcery cards from the graveyard. The other part of Soul Sisters is Soul's Tenant. Again, creature in this battlefield, gain a life. Queen Elenal, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but it's as big as the creatures I control, and I make some tokens. Essence Warden, again, more Soul Sister shenanigans. Another creature in this battlefield, gain a life. Loyal Unicorn, being in combat, if I control my commander, prevent all combat damage to be able to creatures I control, and then they gain Vigilance until end of turn. We got one green-white cat that fits better in other decks, but does a lot of good in this deck. When it attacks, each opponent can block with more than one creature's combat, and when it's tapped, no more than one creature can attack me back each combat. So I think more people play this in artifact or equipment decks, but it does a lot of good work in this deck. Suture Priest, another Soul Sister technically. Creature enters my battlefield, I gain a life. Creature enters opponent's battlefield, they lose a life. We got the Queen, Mothra. Creature I control without flying dies, return to the battlefield is under control, flying counter on it. It's all good against people blowing up my stuff. I don't think it needs much of an introduction, but it's a really good card in this deck. Even though I have a lot of flying, it doesn't hit too much. It does hit a lot of my weenies and brings them back unscathed. We got Dragon Lord Dramoka. Hard to see, but I did get it signed by the artist. Really nice guy. Can't be countered, flying lifelink. Opponents can't cast spells during my turn. I really love the art in this. I really love that ability. Null Mage Shepherd, kind of sticking with the theme of I don't like artifacts. I tap 4 untapped creatures I control. Destroy target artifact or enchantment. We have Troxtani, Celestion's Voice. Another creature enters the battlefield on my control, gain life equal to its toughness, and that has a populate ability. Pretty good. There's a lot of life gain in this deck too, which, I don't know. Once people start seeing gain life, they start ganging up on you more. This really cool Surge Foil promo for Questing Beast. I don't know if it needs much of an introduction, but it has a lot of abilities. Visual Death Touch Haste can't be blocked by creatures power 2 or less. Combat damage will be dealt by creatures you control, can't be prevented. And when it deals that much damage to an opponent, it deals that much damage to target planeswalker that player controls. First abilities are pretty prevalent. Last one, once in a while, I get to ping something. Sigarda, Host of Herons, again, preventing opponents from sacrificing things, or causing me to sacrifice things, rather. And just a good body to have late in the game to smash stuff. Another of my favorite cards, got a nice foil here. Can't be countered if a spell or ability opponent controls cause you to discard it, put on the battlefield instead. A 4/4 is not too bad either. Hex Drinker has level up. You can eventually get protection from everything, but gets protection from instants pretty early on. Again, nice 1 mana cost critter to put out, and does have some abilities later on that could really help me out ending games. I don't know if you consider this a Soul Sister, but I sure do. Signed by the artist, little doodle on there too, lifelink, and if you have 30 more life, it's +5 and flying, which is a lot of fun because you start with 40 life in Commander, so I love that. And another card I have in here, I keep trying to cut, but I don't know, I have a weird attachment to this card. 2 green and a white is protection from black, and Threshold, which is an ability in a previous video I couldn't remember. It's +3/+3 and flying as long as there's 7 more cards in my graveyard, which isn't too hard. So you get a 6/6 flyer, protection from black. This may get cut eventually, but I don't know. I love the art. I love the old school border. Maybe when I think the new card, the new cat from Ixalan, might end up replacing this if I ever get one. Going to apologize because I just realized I have a foreign card. I don't remember what it says. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause here and come right back. So BRB. And we're back. Mirari's Wake. Pumps my creatures, and when I tap a land for mana, it adds an additional land of any mana that land could create. I forget where I pull this, but it's such a pretty art, and I have a bad habit of getting foreign cards. Sometimes I forget all the abilities, so I have to look it up by the time I play it. Usually bring up a picture on the phone to show my opponents, and being fair is fair. But when I do these decks, sometimes I forget exactly what they do once I hit record, and I'm using my phone, so it's hard to look some of this stuff up. So please pardon that little cut there, and we'll move on. But always watching, pumping my non-token creatures with +1/+1 and having vigilance. We're going to hold off on this one. I'll save that for the end of this. Got Gaia's Anthem, enchantment, pumping my creatures. Collective Blessing, same thing, pumping my creatures. Aura Shards, again with the sub-theme of hating artifacts and stuff entering the battlefield. I get to blow up some stuff. I really like this card. Wheel of Sun and Moon, another card I really like. If a card we put into my graveyard, champ player, I put it on myself, of course. Put into my graveyard from anywhere, instead the card is revealed and put in the bottom of that player's library. It's really good for discard decks, really good if I have too many cards in hand to kind of keep my stuff wheeling through. Sarah's Blessing, giving all my stuff vigilance. Court and Crossroads, giving all my stuff haste. But also, I think it gives it for everybody, but I'm more worried about me, and you'll see in the end what I mean about that. Privileged Position, other permanents get hexproof. And the card I skipped initially, Starlight Spectacular. This is a card I switched out for, forget the card's name, where every time a creature is battlefield, put a +1/+1 on every creature I control. I replaced it because I got tired of tracking +1s, and this is just as annoying, but I feel like it's so much better. At the beginning of combat, my turn, choose creatures I control one at a time until each creature has been chosen. Then they incrementally get +1/+1. So the first creature gets +0/+0, next one +1/+1, +2/+2, so on and so forth. And by the time I have this out and have a board state, it gets pretty fun. So usually the last creature I'm pumping is something that either has unblockable or I can give unblockable to end the game. Usually my commander. But I really like this card. It's from the onset, but it is 100% legal in most formats. So I love pulling this out and having people scratch their heads and go, wait a minute, what are you doing? A lot more fun than the other one I can't think of right now. So, speaking of my commander, I have a few dual lands. Got a sweet Italian Savannah. I got it from Hobbs. If you're listening, thanks again, man. But I also got Temple Garden. I love the art on this because it has Karametra in the back. Got Scattered Groves, Canopy Vista, Radiant Grove, and Arctic Tree Line. All count as a forest and or plains. So I can search out for my commander and also just, have 2 colors for my 2-color deck. I do plan on getting the green-white search. Was it Windswept Heath? I've been holding out to get I don't think I have it. I guess I should have looked, but I don't think I have it in this deck yet, but I want to get the old school original bordered version. I forget what set that's from, Scourge or something, before I put in this deck. But here are the rest of my lands. Got Arctic Flats. Said that wrong. But there's another land that I could cut. I don't want to. I love the art in this, and I love the idea of it just being frozen. I don't know. I don't have to make excuses for it. I like it. Bountiful Promenade. We got Brushland, signed by the artist. We got Bag End, aka Horizon Canopy, also signed by the artist. Good old Command Tower, signed by the artist. Razor Verge Thicket promo. Overgrown Farmland. Fortified Village. Restless Prairie. Newest edition. I just had to have this because the land art is so beautiful. And being able to turn into a llama that pumps the rest of my creatures isn't too bad either. Sun Petal Grove and Sungrass Prairie. This is the kind of old border I love. The kind of dingy brown, old school, retro look. I gotta get this Windswept Heath in that. Last but not least, the lands. I don't know. I picked Snow Covered because I liked these arts, and I liked the Snow Covered Forest arts. I'm not one to use the same art for all my basics, but this deck had a little special thing going with it, and I just had to. But we're at the end here, and I have one last card to talk about. Probably the most annoying card I play, and that is Primal Surge. You can see here, it's the only sorcery, only non-land, or I guess non-permanent card in there. What it does, for 8 and 2 green, exile top card of your library. If it's a permanent card, you may put it onto the battlefield. If you do, repeat this process. So I slam this down. I play my entire library one card at a time. And I have haste generators. I have pumps. I have all this stuff just to end the game. And I tell my opponents, unless they have a fog spell or something, like I could play it out, but it gets really, really gross and makes my turn way too long. But it's in there because it's a game ender. I don't need another excuse beyond that, right? Sometimes you just want to win the game. And usually by that point, I think everyone wants the game to end. But that is my Karametra deck. Again, apologies for the edit. Hope you enjoyed. Hope it gave you some ideas for what you want to do with your Karametra deck, or even just your green-white decks in general. I always like watching these videos myself because it gives me some ideas what I want to do with my deck, and shows people cards they aren't really aware of, or maybe haven't considered putting in the deck. So stay tuned. We'll have more coming up, and I'll probably do an update video once I start really upgrading this deck. You know, spicing it up, foiling it out. I'm not big on foiling stuff, but sometimes it just looks nice, right? I'd rather get interesting arts or autographs and stuff like that. So I'm rambling too much, so I'm going to go ahead and end the video. So as always, love you.